Hey everybody, Ethan here, your beloved Wheelsboy host, and before we get to episode 3 of Wheelsboy Chat, which I think is going to be a very good one, I wanted to share with you some bad news and some good news. The bad news is this is going to be the last episode of Wheelsboy Chat that you will see on the main Wheelsboy YouTube channel. The good news is that's because we are starting a unique Wheelsboy Chat channel here on YouTube. We will be providing a link in the description below, so if you're interested in continuing to follow our ongoing discussions of interesting topics about the Chinese car market, please be sure to go and subscribe and also like and hit the bell. Thank you so much for your continued support of the channel and of Wheelsboy Chat. We hope that you will continue to leave comments and give us ideas for future episodes. Thanks for watching. Hello and welcome. Today we have something a bit different for you. Instead of our regular car review videos, we've decided to invite a guest to discuss some interesting topics about the Chinese car market. The guest in question is the one and only Elliot Richards, another Chinese-based automotive reviewer.
Hello.
Hello, Elliot. Thank you for joining us.
Lovely to be here.
Elliot, our topic for this video is Chinese EVs that are being sold in the European market starting this year, either going to be sold in 2021 or already there. So first of all, let's list them.
Right, so we've got MG, because they're already there.
Put a pin in that, because I want to know whether you think MG is a Chinese brand. I
Okay,
guess
we'll come
you
back
do.
to that.
Okay, next.
Xiaopeng, yeah,
Oh,
Xiaopeng is there already in Norway with the G3.
Xpeng. Xiaopeng is the Chinese name, yes.
Neo
Neo.
are opening in Norway this year, later this year.
Starting with the ES8.
Correct. BYD also going to Norway.
Yep, with the Tang.
Yeah, later this year. And then you've got iWays with the U5, which is already in Europe.
Correct.
Belgium and I think Italy soon.
And you've driven that, so I want to hear your thoughts on that. We'll probably start with that. One thing I was going to say is that we're going to keep this conversation limited to passenger vehicles. So please do not go down to the comments and tell us that BYD has been selling electric buses in Europe and the US for many years. I don't want to hear it. Elliot, the iWays U5, what did you think?
You know, it's not gonna, it doesn't really push the envelope, right? But it's a very, how do I put it? My impression was it's a very light and airy kind of space to be in. It's a reasonable price. I think it was about 250,000 RMB.
I think truth be told, I literally just watched Elliot's review. It was very good. Starting at 160,000. I think it tops out or starts at 160,000 RMB.
So it's even cheaper than I thought. So that's going after the Xiaopeng kind of market. It's
correct.
Kind of
the G3. Well, yeah, the G3.
I'm going to say cheap SUV. It's bigger than the G3. It's a bit more practical. It's got more presence on the road. It's very plain, and I don't think it has to be, you know, exciting or the most premium SUV like Neo, for example.
Mainstream.
Yeah, mainstream. And it does what it says on the tin.
Well, I mean, I guess there's, I think part of electric vehicles growing pains is that every brand thinks that they have to put out a car that does 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds and does all these crazy things. And when in reality, the mainstream buyers that can't afford that.
90% of people don't.
And they don't need it, yes. And the iWays, I recall from your review, I'm cheating because again, I'm fresh on this, 38,000 to about 42,000 euro.
That's right, yeah, the price was higher in Europe.
Yes, the price is a little bit higher in Europe. But still, considering the market price for something like a Tesla Model Y, I believe that competes pretty directly with a Model Y, right?
Yeah, but it's it's a little bit more practical, I think. You know, you've got the fold-down seats, you've got the big boot space, you've got a normal opening boot, and it's, you know, it's not a Tesla. You know, not everyone wants to buy a Tesla, so
it's true. Believe it or not,
it's good that they've got other options rather than just Tesla or well, there's not a lot else, right? Well,
true.
So I'm glad they're going to Europe. I think they're going to do a pretty reasonable job. They've got a new car coming out. I think it's the U6. I can't remember the name.
It'd probably be a bigger SUV if
probably.
I had to guess.
Which looks more interesting. I think, you know, they're taking steps in the right direction. And they're one of the first there. And, you know, they're a bit of a pioneer, in fact. So
that's true. I have to give them credit because a lot of companies have been talking about going to the US.
They're doing a lot of that.
European, European market, and not a lot of movement.
Yeah.
So they get credit for being, you know, one of the leading companies there. Staying in the same vein, and you are going to be biased about this, but right now, Xpeng is currently selling the Xpeng G3.
Correct.
Which Elliot owns.
Yes.
That is his daily driver.
My daily driver.
Yes. So I want to ask you, that's been there though. The big news is that they're planning on selling the P7 as well.
Correct.
So the P7 being that they're...
Super saloon.
Is it super?
Well,
The fastest zero, and again, this is what spoils the market here, is that I just doubted the superness of a car that does 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 4.8 seconds. And in my mind, I'm like,
it's ridiculous.
or 4.4. The performance is 4.4 seconds.
Yeah.
So, yes, I've driven it. You've driven it.
Yeah.
I like the P7. The thing I like about the P7 is that everything, because the ruler, the standard for electric cars, especially in that segment, is the Model 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of have to give people context by saying it's more comfortable than a Model 3.
Correct.
It's bigger than a Model 3.
Correct.
I will say, though, one of the weaknesses of that car is that the exterior makes a lot of promises that the interior cannot cash. And or writes a lot of checks the interior cannot cash is the proper way to use that phrase. But what I mean by that is that the interior is very nice.
Yes.
It is very commensurate with the price, good quality, a fantastic screen, one of the best UIs I've ever used, great voice commands, hands down the best voice commands I've ever used in a car. And I hate voice commands. I think they suck. I never use them. No. But when I do have to use them, I want them to work. But packaging-wise, there's room for improvement. It's a little bit tight on the inside.
Correct.
But definitely, and more comfortable. That's the other thing I would say. It's more comfortable on the road than a Tesla Model 3.
The thing is, no car, I think no electric car which is being sold is perfect, right? I think the most important thing is it brings choice for consumers.
Yeah.
Whether it's a Tesla, whether it's Xiaopeng, whether it's any car, any electric car going to Europe that's going to sell in Europe, that comes in a really good package like that, fine, I'm happy with that. I think, it's flawed in some ways, but to give people choice, I'm glad they're doing it. And I think people will love it. It's got a very distinctive look, different from the Model 3. It does have different features. I think that will sell quite well if they get the price right. Now, the price here is fantastic.
Yeah, it's
220,000 RMB.
Starting at 220,000 RMB, which is somewhere in the range of $35,000.
Yeah, more or less.
Less than $35,000, I think, which is great. It's really great for that car. The last thing I will say is that they openly admit that the headlights are inspired by Star Wars lightsabers. And that is awesome. That is awesome.
And I met the lighting designer, actually, of that car, and he said, we can do Night Rider, you can do anything you want.
You can do Night Rider?
Yeah, let me know any suggestions you want. We can do it. I was like, all right, I don't really know any lighting patterns you can do. I know Night Rider, but that's it.
That guy sounds like both a wonderful person and somebody I don't necessarily know if I want to have dinner with, because I think that he might talk a lot about lights more than I want to talk about. Correct. But if he's watching, very much appreciate your wonderful work. Also, Night Rider. Yes, give me an option to have red Night Rider lights with the sound on the front of my P7. Okay, so let's move back to SUVs and talk about, let's talk about BYD. So the BYD Tang, which I'm assuming is going to be the latest generation of the Tang.
Correct.
I drove this new one is a new one. It's like a mid-cycle refresh. Correct. It's got some slight updates to the battery, so longer range, a little bit quicker. I think the one I drove was 4.5 seconds. This is probably 4.2 or something ridiculous. Something ridiculous. Because that thing is huge, man. That's a big car.
It's very big, but it's I mean, I want to say more than it's just big. It's what BYD have done is made a really good package, and BYD know how to make a car at a great price.
Yes.
The tech works. The interior on the Tang, I think, is great.
Yes.
Some of the old BYD interiors were not great. I'm just going to leave it there.
Yes.
But they have got everything right with the BYD. It's a massive car, massive wheels, Brembo brakes. It's exciting. It looks aggressive. It's practical. I really like the BYD Tang. I don't know how that will go down in the European market, which likes kind of smaller cars, more city-friendly cars.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I liked the Tang. The previous generation, and I've heard there've been some improvements. My complaints about the other one, or the last generation, were, as your packaging was great, interior for the price is really great. It's got that screen that can go from a portrait to a landscape orientation. Yeah. A thing that borders on useless, but it's still pretty fun to talk about. And my only complaints were on I think this compared the steering to the steering feel to that of like an 80s video game, like an arcade cabinet.
Yeah.
Not great. But I hope they've improved that. And then the ride suffered slightly, but that was because it was wearing, at the time, I think it was 22-inch wheels.
22-inch wheels, yeah.
22-inch freak monster wheels.
They look amazing.
They look great.
But not good for an EV, really.
No. They probably lose like 50 kilometers of range.
That car needs wheeling-sized wheels.
Oh, so 12s?
12-inch wheels. Yeah,
well,
baby.
The Wuling Fighting video just came out. The Wuling Fighting pickup, they upgraded to 14s. So maybe we can do that as a middle ground. So that actually is interesting you said that. You said something about how the Tang is, you're afraid it might not work with a European market because it's so big, which brings us conveniently to the Neo ES8.
Yeah, now that's a big car.
That is a big car. Now, I've driven the EC6, which is the coupe SUV version of the ES6.
Yes.
The smaller one. And that itself is not a small car. The ES6, not a small car. The ES8, I haven't driven, but the first thing everybody tells me is it's huge.
It is. They're all on the same platform, though, so they're all practically the same size, really.
Just extended wheelbase versions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I think because they're going off that premium market a bit more than BYD, so they're going to be successful. You know, people who drive Range Rovers, people who drive those massive Jeeps and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to love that car. The Neo will probably do quite well.
Pause. People in Europe are driving massive Jeeps?
In London, they are.
Sorry, you mean like G-Wagons?
G-Wagons.
Oh, this is...
I don't literally mean Jeeps.
This is a thing...
No one drives Jeeps in Europe.
I was about to say, I got excited. My little American heart started to pitter-patter.
They can stay in America.
Well, and this is a thing. This is a British-American thing because when a lot of people from outside of the U.S., I guess I thought it was just China, but I guess in the UK...
The Jeep means any SUV.
Exactly. I learned that in China, they would literally call it like a Toyota FJ Cruiser is a Toyota Jeep.
It's a Jeep. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Ford Bronco. That's a Ford Jeep. God.
So I think Neo are going to do probably exceptionally well. They're going to get that that Kensington set in London.
Are they selling in the UK? I thought they
they just got European approval this week.
So they've all got full Europe. I know they're starting in Norway because everybody starts in Norway.
And the UK.
And the UK.
Well, I'm counting the UK and Europe. I think.
Well, yes, we can.
They're going to sell in the UK. But yeah, I think they're going to do well. BYD, they just need to up premium themselves just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm afraid BYD is going to get caught in kind of
it's their brand.
A middle range. Like the Neo because...
Upper middle range.
Yeah, like Neo, because it's... I think that's a good point. I do think that Neo is going to compete at a level that is above Tesla.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yes, definitely.
Much more luxurious than a Tesla. It also has, as an electric brand, and BYD is an electric brand, but this thought makes sense if I can finish it. The ES8, yes, I do think that it's just interesting enough looking, cool enough looking, that you might be able to snatch some buyers from premium SUVs, whether it's Lexus or it's Range Rover. Yeah, I think that actually makes sense. Versus the Tang, which is a great car, but because it exists and is a little more expensive than something like, it's much more expensive than an iWays, the U5, and of course the G3. And it's cheaper than the Neo, which is going to get premium customers and everything.
Similar performance to the Neo.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, I
think the new one's faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of the whole lot, I think there's an argument to be made that the Tang is the best value.
Oh, yeah.
Depending on, I don't know what the price is going to be, but if it is, relatively speaking, within that market where it is in the Chinese market, price-wise, I can't think of anything. Let's say it's 60,000 euros. Cool.
Yeah, great.
I can't think of a car that can compete with that for 60,000 euros. I mean, no BMW or Mercedes is going to have the performance. They're going to have more cachet. They're going to have more luxury, perhaps, but they're not going to have the tech. They're not going to have the performance. So it's really just, and this is always the problem that all of these companies have, is it's all about the brand.
Correct.
And so will people remember that the bus they rode in to work for so many years before they got ready to buy a car was a BYD? Let's hope they don't. Let's hope they don't. All right, so finally, I guess we kind of touched on this, but what do you think is the one that's going to be? Do we have an idea? And let's say successful in its own segment. We can't say because a P7 might sell more than an ES8, but the P7 is cheaper. Something like that.
I want to start off by answering by saying I hope they're all successful.
Sure.
Because I don't care what electric car you drive, as long as it's electric and not petrol. Really, I think as we're moving forwards, what I think will be the most successful out of that bunch, I think Xiaopeng have got that kind of that, I don't want to say lower end of the market, but the cheaper end of EVs.
Yeah.
And I think if they can capitalize on that, they're onto a winner. And I think the iWay can probably tag onto that. I honestly think Neo is probably going to have the best success because, you know, they've got the service, it's the whole pack. It's not just a car, you know, it's the service, the Neo Power, it's, you know, the buying experience, it's the Neo Show. They have everything. It's a completely different experience from any other automotive maker.
I was eating dinner with somebody from Neo because we're here at this Neo event today. And I asked them specifically, are you going to use the same service model, provide the same services that you do in China, in Europe? And they said, yes. It's very important to us. And for those of you that don't know, the thing that separates Neo, and this is something I didn't get to talk about in my review of the EC6, I wish I'd had more time, is that Neo prides themselves on having one of the best services. Think about Lexus and how Lexus's reputation, at least in the US, is an amazing dealership experience. Neo is way beyond that. The convenience that they bring to, I mean, I feel like I'm not trying to sell Neos here. This is genuinely just the truth. The ownership experience is extremely convenient because they will do things like if your car needs to be charged, they will come to you with a generator and they will charge your car. When it needs servicing, of course, they'll do the classic thing where they'll come and pick it up from you. Everyone I've ever talked to that's owned a Neo, when they're like, well, if I have any problem, I call,
Just
and
call
they're they're great. They either come straight to you or they're really helpful or whatever. So that I think could be something that, you know who doesn't do that, as far as I know? Range Rover. Range Rover, not known.
And I think the one last thing they have is the battery swapping.
Will
and they've
they
actually made it successful. They're bringing it to Europe as well.
Okay, there you go. That might be the defining difference. So we'll see. I mean,
time will tell.
You never know. You never know. We'll never know who's going to be most successful. But we will be paying attention, and I'm sure that you guys will be too. Speaking of paying attention, thank you very much for paying attention to our video. Thank you to Elliot for joining us.
No problem.
Very much appreciated. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to let us know by liking, subscribing, and hitting the bell. And if you have other topics that you would like us to discuss, put those in the comments below.